Hello, math students. Today we are looking at section 2.3. So starting a new section today, we're looking at polynomial and synthetic division. So before we get into these new learning targets, let's talk a little bit about division. So think back to elementary school when you learned how to use long division. So we're going to review that before we get into the polynomial part of it. So basic long division, let's get into it. So number one, I have 1,246 divided by 4. So quick review here, the 4 here is called the divisor, and the 1,246 is called the dividend. And what we get for our answer is called the quotient. So divisor and dividend, answer is the quotient. So be familiar with those terms. All right, so to divide this, let me write down my success criteria over here. Quick review, we're going to divide first, then multiply, then subtract, and then bring down. So quick little review. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. And then what's left over at the end is called the remainder, and we're going to write a remainder as a fraction. Write remainder as a fraction, and we'll see that at the end. Okay, so first step is to divide. So I'm dividing 4 into 1. Can 4 divide into 1? No, it cannot. So I have to go to the next number, which is 2. So can 4 divide into 12? Yes, it can. 4 divides into 12 3 times. So I just divided. Now I can multiply 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And then my next step is to subtract. So it's going to be 12 minus 12, which is 0. Now I'm ready to bring down. My next number to bring down is 4. Then I'll start it all over again. Go back to divide. So divide 4 into 4, that's 1. And then multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract. 4 minus 4 is 0. And bring down the next number, which is 6. And do it all again. 4 into 6 is 1. 4 can go into 6 just one time there. 1 times 4 is 4. And then 6 minus 4 is 2. Nothing left to bring down. That means this 2 is the remainder. And I'm going to rewrite it as a fraction. So the remainder of 2 goes on the top or the numerator of the fraction. And then the divisor out here in front is the denominator of the fraction. So I have 311 and 2/4, but we know that 2/4 can be reduced by 2. So our final answer is 311 and 1/2. All right, pause the video and try number 2 on your own. All right, let's see how you did. So you set it up with the 18 as the divisor and the 24,310 as the dividend. And you're going to go through your process. So divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, divide, multiply, subtract, oops, whoa, bring down, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, divide, multiply, subtract. Nothing to bring down, so that means my remainder is 10, so 10 over 18. I can reduce 10 over 18. So the final answer is 1,350. Reduce that to 5 over 9. All right. Okay, so there's a quick review of long division. Now let's get into the polynomial long division. So we're going to throw in those x's now into the mix there. So here's my first example right here. 2x to the third minus 4x plus 1 divided by x plus 1. So x plus 1 would be my divisor. And then this polynomial is my dividend. So this polynomial written first goes inside the long division, and then the divisor goes outside. All right. Okay, so I'm going to get another piece of paper out so I can write down my success criteria, so I'm not cramming it on this paper here. All right, so the learning target is I can use long division to divide polynomials by other polynomials. So the first thing you want to do, this is what makes it a little bit different than what we just did previously with just normal long division. So the first thing you want to do is make sure the dividend and divisor are in standard form. Make sure the dividend and divisor are in standard form. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you have it in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, meaning that you start with the highest degree and you keep going down until you get to just the constant there. So make sure that they're in standard form. And then if it's missing a term, say I just had something like the x squared and then the constant, so it was missing just the x term, for example, then you're going to fill in those missing terms with zeros. I'll show you what that means in just a second. Fill in zeros for missing terms. So let's just look at these first two steps in our problem here. So I'm looking at number 3 from the note packet here. So it's set up. I've got my divisor and my dividend ready to go. Now look here. Say that wasn't given to you and you were just given this and this, then you would have to look through and make sure it's in standard form. So x to the third, missing the x squared, and then x and then constant. And then this is good, x and then the constant. So I need to fill in a 0 for x squared, where x squared goes. So look at here. So I put my divisor outside, and then my dividend, notice you fill in that 0 for the missing x squared term. All right, so that's step 1. That's step 1 and 2. Make sure they're in standard form, and you fill in the zeros. Okay, so let's look at what we do next. Step 3 for long division is to divide your first terms. Divide first terms. All right, so dividing first terms, here's my first term x and my first term 2x to the third. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2x to the third divided by x. 2x to the third divided by x is 2x squared. So that gives me my first term of my quotient. So I'm going to put that 2x squared right here. Now I have my first term of the quotient. All right, so success criteria step number 4 is to multiply by distributing that first term. So I'm going to take the 2x squared and distribute it to the divisor. So I'm going to do 2x squared times x, which is 2x to the third. Then I'm going to do 2x squared, distribute it to the 1. That would be 2x squared. If it helps you to see it like this, you can rewrite it like this as well. 2x to the third, 2x squared. So that's where that came from. That's my multiply. All right, so we divide our first terms, and then multiply and distribute that out. So let's write that down in our success criteria. So divide first terms and then multiply by distributing. Divide first terms, multiply by distributing. All right, so then the next step is to subtract. And then we'll bring down. Okay, so let's look at what that looks like. So subtract. When you're subtracting, make sure you apply the subtraction to each term. So to help me remember that, I put this in parentheses. So I remember that the subtraction goes to each of these terms in the parentheses. So you'll start here, 0x squared, and then minus 2x squared. So 0x squared minus 2x squared would be negative 2x squared. And then I'll do 2x to the third minus 2x to the third is just 0. So those cancel out. And these two terms should always cancel out. If they don't, then this number is probably wrong. All right, so now we're ready to bring down. So I subtract and then I bring down. And then I can start my process all over again. So now I'm going to go back to dividing. So I'm going to divide my first terms. Here's my first terms, x and negative 2x squared. So negative 2x squared divided by x is negative 2x. So this is the number I write up here. Negative 2x. Now I'm ready to multiply. And remember, we're distributing. Distribute that negative 2x. And if it helps you to write it out, you can do that. And distribute it to the divisor there. So then I would distribute there. And that goes under here. Okay. Now we're ready to subtract. So negative 4x minus negative 2x. Minus a negative makes it positive. So then that would just be negative 2x. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. And then negative 2x squared minus negative 2x squared, that turns to positive, which makes those cancel out. Now we're ready to bring down. So I'll bring down my 1. And then do my process all over again. So divide my first terms here. So negative 2x divided by x is negative 2. And then distribute the negative 2 to the divisor. Now I'm ready to subtract. 1 minus negative 2 is 3. Those cancel out. So that means this is my remainder. My remainder is 3. So let's go back to our success criteria and kind of recap before we put this all together. So you keep repeating divide, multiply, subtract, bring down until you run out of numbers there. So repeat steps 3 to 6 there. And then we're going to write our remainder as a fraction. So we're going to put it over the divisor. So the divisor becomes the denominator of the fraction. Okay, so let's look at what that does here to our problem. So back here to our example. So we have our answer here, 2x squared minus 2x minus 2, and then I'm going to do plus 3 over the divisor x plus 1. And then that is my final answer. Okay, you try number 4 on your own. All right, so let's see how you did on number 4. Hopefully you pause the video and try that on your own. Let's check it by running through it. So I'm going to set it up, put my divisor out front, and make sure this is in standard form. X to the third, x squared, x constant, good to go. We're not missing any terms. We don't need to fill in any zeros, so I can just write it out here. Okay, now we're ready to start our process. So we're going to divide our first terms. So x to the third divided by x is x squared. Then I'm going to distribute the x squared to the divisor. So that is x to the third minus 1x squared. Then I'll subtract 2x squared minus negative 1x would be 3x squared. And then these cancel out, and then I'm ready to bring down. Then I'll divide, so that would be plus 3x. Then I'll multiply it out. And then subtract negative x minus negative 3x be 2x. Cancel out. Bring down the negative 2. 2x divided by x is 2. And then distribute. And then subtract. So no remainder there. So that would be my answer. All right, now pause the video, try 5. All right, so this one, the divisor is also missing a term here. So I'm missing that x term, so my divisor is going to be 2x squared plus 0x minus 1. And then my dividend, I have 8x to the fourth. I'm missing my x to the third term, so that's 0x to the third. And then minus 2x squared. Missing my x term, so I'm going to fill in 0x, and then finally plus 10. Then we'll go through, we're going to divide our first terms here. So 8x to the fourth divided by 2x squared would be 4x squared. Take the 4x squared, distribute it through. Then I'm ready to subtract. Oops, it should be a minus there. Times negative 1 would make that negative. There we go. And then, so negative 2x squared minus negative 4x squared. 2x squared. That's nothing. That cancels out. Bring this down. And since I have 3 terms in my divisor, I need to bring down all 3 terms here. Or 2 terms, sorry. So I have 3 terms. So whatever you have out here, so I have 3 terms out here, I need 3 terms here to divide properly. Okay, so then you divide your first term, so 2x squared divided by 2x squared is just 1. So I multiply 1, distribute the 1 here. And then I subtract, and that would be 11 Nothing, nothing. So my remainder is 11 here. So final answer, 4x squared plus 1 plus 11 over my divisor, 2x squared minus 1. And that is the final answer. Okay, so that's enough examples for long division. Let's move on to synthetic division. Okay, so synthetic division is another way to divide. It's another method, but it's a method that only works when the divisor is in the form x minus k. So we can't have an x squared or an x to the third. It just has to be an x and then your constant number there. All right, so let's write down our steps here. So I can divide polynomials using synthetic division when the divisor is in the form x minus k. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to set your x minus k equal to 0 to find our divisor. All right, and then you also want to make sure your dividend is in standard form. And fill in those zeros for any missing terms. Okay, so let's look at steps 1 through 3 here. I'm looking at number 6. So first I need to find my divisor. So I'm going to do x minus 1 equals 0, and then I'm going to solve for x, so add 1 to both sides, so I see that x is 1. So 1 is my divisor. So I'm going to write my divisor as 1, and I'm going to put this in a little box here. So I remember this is my divisor. My divisor is 1. Now I'm going to look at my dividend, make sure it's in standard form. So x to the third, oh, missing that x squared. So I'm going to fill in a 0 and then x and then constant. So now I'm going to take the coefficients of the divisor and write them out. So my coefficients are 2, 0, negative 4, positive 1. So 2, 0, negative 4, 1. And you grab the sign. So since this is a negative 4, I made it negative 4 down here as well. All right, so that was step 4 here. So let's write that down so we remember how to do this. All right, so use coefficients with signs of the dividend. Okay, now we're going to bring down our first coefficient. Bring down the first coefficient. And then you're going to start your process. You're going to multiply and then add. Multiply and then add. Multiply and then add. So you're going to repeat that until you are out of numbers. Okay, so let's look at that. So we have our divisor. We look to our dividend, make sure we fill in our zeros, and we write down our coefficients of each term there. Then we're going to bring down the first coefficient. So my first coefficient is 2. Just bring it straight down. And now you're going to start your process. So your process is to multiply, then add. So I'm going to take my divisor and multiply it to this number 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. That goes under the here. And now we're going to add. 0 plus 2 is 2. And then you start your process again. Go back to the divisor. 1 times 2 is 2. Now I'm going to add. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. Do your process again. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Then 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1. All right, so now we have the coefficients of each term of our quotient, of our answer. So now all that's left is to put it all together to make our answer. So you're going to look to your original divisor, and you're going to look at that first term. You're going to look at the degree of it. So 2x to the third, it started with degree x to the third. For our answer, we're going to go down just 1. So go down 1 degree. So instead of x to the third, it's going to be x squared. Okay? And then this is positive, so I'll put a plus. And then after x squared comes x minus our constant. And then that means that this negative 1 is the remainder. And we'll write the remainder as a fraction. So 2x squared plus 2x plus 2 minus 1 over the divisor, x minus 1. Final answer. All right, so let's finish up our success criteria. So after we did the process multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and we finished that, then you're going to fill in your variables to your answer, to your quotient, starting 1 degree down from the original dividend. Okay? And then your last number of your answer there, of your quotient, is the remainder. Last number is the remainder. And then, as always, we're going to write our remainder as a fraction. Okay. All right, so there's your success criteria. Let's use that success criteria to do the last 3 examples. So you start by taking your divisor, setting it equal to 0, and solving for x. So my divisor is -1. Put that in a little box to show it's the divisor. Then I'm going to make sure that this is in standard form, x to the third, x squared, x constant, so we're good. So now I can just fill in my coefficients. So x to the third coefficient is just 1, so 1, and then 2, and then -1, and then -2. My next step is to bring down my 1. And then I start my process. Multiply, so -1 times 1, and then add 2 plus -1. Multiply, add, multiply, add. And then I'm going to look to my original dividend, and I'm going to go down 1 degree from that. So x to the third, go down 1, so that's x squared plus 1x minus 2, no remainder. So final answer, x squared plus x minus 2. All right, pause the video and try 8 and 9 on your own. All right, let's see how you did on 8 and 9. All right, so my divisor here is 4. Fill in my coefficients. Ooh, they're out of order, so I have to put it, I'll start with the x to the fourth first, missing an x to the third, then my x squared, my x, and no constant, so I fill in the 0 for that. Bring down my first term there, my 4, and then I'll start my process. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Okay, so I started with a degree of x to the 4th, so this is going to be x to the 3rd, and x squared, and then x, then your constant, and then your remainder over your divisor. Final answer. Okay, last one. Here's your divisor, -3. Set it up. This one needed 3 zeros. Multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And fill in your answer. All right. Okay, so that's it for the lesson. Make sure you're using your success criteria to help you with these. If you get stuck, refer to that success criteria as you are doing your bookwork.